Years on top of years, Vampire Diary fans have always had one popular question amongst the community that has always gone unanswered with solid reasoning behind it, which is who takes the throne of being a better doppelganger, the sweet and innocent Elena or the conniving and selfish Katherine? Well, after watching the entire Vampire Diary series 2 times over, one time in 8th grade and another while in college, I can confidently say that Katherine Pierce is 1000% a better doppelganger than Elena. Now hold on, before you tell my tongue out, I promise by the end of this video, 90%, maybe even 95% will rethink who you believe reigns as the better doppelganger if you thought otherwise. But before we even get to why I came to that conclusion, we must first understand the essence of these two characters in whole. Elena starts out as a grieving 17-year-old girl from Mystic Falls who had just survived a lethal car crash that fatally killed her step-parents 4 months prior. Right away, the story establishes that Elena is an empathetic, kind-hearted person on the surface by showing us even while grieving her parents' loss, she still puts others ahead of her own needs, like helping Jeremy with his drug problem and keeping a close eye on him, making sure he doesn't stray down the wrong path. Or instead of becoming a distant and closed-off person from grief, she still puts her friends' needs above her own. This tells us early on what the true essence of Elena's character is: good, kind-hearted, and morally positive. Almost perfect. Or so we thought. We eventually get to the second season, ultimately introducing us to Katherine Pierce. From the moment Elena and Katherine first cross paths, we see how disturbed and uncomfortable Katherine makes Elena. Being identical in looks and hearing the type of person Katherine is, Elena gains the need to prove herself and to others that she is nothing like Katherine. It's almost like an obsession that she wants to be seen as the morally superior doppelganger. This is where I began to find out Elena is not all so perfect. She starts playing pretend with herself because she doesn't want to accept that she has flaws like Katherine. Thus, I began to piece together the hypocrisy in the now Elena character radiates. But what do I mean by this? Elena has consistently judged Katherine throughout the series, for example, like mostly manipulating the Salvatore brothers, yet Elena often ends up manipulating Damon while she's with Stefan by keeping him around and subtly showing him the right bit of attention and affection to have him at her command. In addition, ends up in a love triangle with Stefan and Damon, hurting both of them in different periods of time, the same way Katherine did. Although Katherine never hurt both of them in the prime of their relationship. Elena also starts doing dumb things like developing a sacrifice complex as seen in season 3, all to prove she won't run from her problems like Katherine did. For everything Katherine does, Elena points it out and criticizes, acting as though she'll never stoop down and do the same. But the big problem with that is, as the series progresses, mostly everything Elena found fault in Katherine, she ends up doing the same thing, sometimes even worse. Which shows, 1, Elena's character is a big hypocrite, and 2, in denial of who she truly is, which makes me believe that she's morally unstable and does not have the mental capability to accept she has flaws like her doppelganger. This deems her an incomplete person, character, or doppelganger. Her very predictable, perfectly good girl act made her a very boring and dull character as the series goes on. And to make it even worse, later down the line we find out she was never the perfectly good girl and it was all a facade made from denial. Now, on the other hand, we have Katherine, who is portrayed as a dark spot where there is light by almost everybody in the cast. A completely selfish person who is greedy, malicious, spoiled, manipulative, and always up to something. And to be honest, it's all true. But what separates her from Elena is the authenticity. From the moment Katherine appears, we see that she causes nothing but chaos around her, but does it in a very confident, sly, and charming manner. Like when she turned Caroline into a vampire, only to use her for things like spying on the Salvatore brothers and to gain leverage over Elena, or completely using Mason Lockwood to get the Moonstone so she can have insurance to not be killed by Klaus. She does things like this to ensure no matter what happens, she always comes out alive. She is also very calculated, knowing when to fight, when to hide, when to betray, or who to side with, all in order to survive. Her biggest belief is to always survive no matter what, which is instilled from trauma. This is the true essence of her character. Even though people criticize this way of life and call her cowardly and selfish, she doesn't try to hide those flaws or be in denial. She accepts that she's selfish, she accepts that she manipulates and betrays to survive, and she accepts that she's flawed. Katherine simply doesn't live in denial for who she is. She lets people see the real her with no mask to hide it. And as the series goes on, we see that Katherine is really just a girl who wants to live like everybody else. But trauma shaped her to become a monster to ensure that happens. As the quote goes, you can only beat a monster by becoming a monster. But in spite of the running and being cowardly, when one of her major life problems came knocking, her daughter Nadia, she did not run or flee at the end of the day. She set all of her missions to overthrow Klaus and survive to the side and faced her problem, getting her eventually killed. This deems her in my book a complete person, character, or doppelganger. Her complex and real character makes every time she comes on screen very intriguing and has you on the edge because she's never predictable and so real. That is what differentiates Katherine from Elena, making her ultimately the better doppelganger.
Getting really easy being you.
Elena hides behind a mask to hide all her flaws to seem perfect, while Katherine shows her true face, showing she's not perfect. Katherine's character has more complexity, more humanity, because no human is unflawed. But Elena throughout the series wants to be seen as delusionally unflawed, making her very predictable and empty at times. So in conclusion, Katherine is simply a better doppelganger because she is a more interesting, real, and complete character who accepts who she is and doesn't fake it for anybody, making her time on screen extremely enjoyable. And even as a vampire, she still shows more human tendencies than Elena. On the other hand, Elena is a flat character. You always know what to expect. She always wants to act as if she's all good and nothing else, always in denial that in some ways she's not totally good, just like her doppelganger. And that leads to her contradicting herself all the way till she ends up doing something she condemned Katherine for, but even then keep coding in denial, make her time on screen extremely mild compared to Katherine's. But that's what I believe after watching the series 2 times over. Now let me hear what you think down in the comments below. That's all I got for y'all until next time.
I know this is probably the last thing you want to do right now, but we should talk about what happened tonight.
When were you at the house?
Really? Come on, we kissed, Elena.
Okay, I don't have time for this, Damon.
Hey. You gotta be kidding me.